African grey parrots are sitting in homes all around the world right now, completely silent. Not because they cannot talk, but because their owners are making the exact same training mistakes that this video is going to fix permanently starting today. African grey parrots have been scientifically documented learning over 1,000 words, holding real meaningful conversations, asking genuine questions, and even expressing their own emotions. And your bird has exactly the same capability sitting inside it right now. The difference between an African grey that never speaks a single word and one that holds full conversations is not intelligence, not species, not genetics. It is entirely down to the specific method the owner uses during training. Though African grey parrots do not talk the way people think they talk, they are not simply copying sounds like a tape recorder. They are genuinely learning language the way a human child does, through repetition, context, reward, and emotional connection. Alex the African grey parrot, studied by scientist Dr. Irene Pepperberg for 30 years, could identify 50 different objects by name, count up to 6, understand the concept of same and different, and even appeared to understand the concept of zero. What Dr. Pepperberg discovered changed everything we understand about bird intelligence. African grey parrots are not mimicking. They are genuinely communicating, and they can learn to do it in your home with the right daily training approach. The method in this guide is based on the exact same principles that produced Alex and hundreds of other talking African grey parrots around the world. And every single step has been tested, refined, and proven to work consistently. Whether your African grey is 6 months old, 3 years old, or a rescue bird that has never said a single word, this complete method works for every bird at every age and at every starting point without exception. African grey parrots learn language through a neural mechanism called vocal learning, the same rare ability found in humans, dolphins, and songbirds, where the brain can hear a sound, process it, and then consciously reproduce it. Inside the African grey parrot's brain, there are 2 distinct vocal learning systems, one that processes the sounds it hears from the environment, and one that controls the precise muscular coordination required to reproduce those sounds. What makes the African grey parrot uniquely powerful compared to other talking birds is the size and complexity of its forebrain, proportionally larger than any other parrot species, which is why it can form genuine associations between words and their meanings. African grey parrots learn language fastest when 3 specific conditions are present simultaneously: a strong emotional bond with the teacher, consistent repetition of the target word, and an immediate meaningful reward after each correct attempt. An African grey parrot will not genuinely talk to someone it does not trust. This is the single most important principle in this entire guide, and understanding it will explain why so many training attempts fail completely. In the wild, African grey parrots learn their flock's specific vocal vocabulary as a way of communicating belonging and identity. In your home, learning to speak your language is your African grey's way of saying you are my flock. The stronger and more secure your bond with your African grey parrot, the more motivated your bird will be to use your language, because talking is fundamentally a bonding behavior, not a performance behavior. This is why African grey parrots often say their best and clearest words when they are relaxed, secure, and feeling loved, not during formal training sessions, because the emotional state is the foundation of the behavior. African grey parrots are context learners. They do not just memorize sounds, they connect specific sounds to specific situations, objects, emotions, or actions. And this is the key that unlocks genuinely meaningful speech. When your African grey parrot says water every time its bowl is filled, or says bye-bye every time you pick up your keys, it is not guessing. It has formed a genuine cognitive connection between that word and that specific event. Understanding context learning means that every single interaction you have with your African grey parrot throughout the entire day is a potential language lesson. Every meal, every greeting, every departure, and every moment of play. African grey parrots learn language significantly faster when they are in the most socially active room in your home. A bird that hears constant, natural human conversation absorbs vocabulary passively all day long without any formal training at all. Position your African grey parrot at eye level or slightly above. A bird that sits lower than you feels less secure and less confident, and confidence is directly linked to how willing your African Grey will be to vocalize. Keep background television noise at conversational volume near your African Grey Parrot throughout the day. Birds that hear human speech consistently in the background learn far more vocabulary than birds kept in silence. Remove all loud competing sounds during dedicated training sessions. Turn off washing machines, dishwashers, loud music, and anything that might drown out your voice, because your African Grey Parrot needs to hear your words with complete clarity. The most powerful investment you can make in your African Grey Parrot's talking ability is not a training book, not a talking CD, and not a specific toy. It is 30 minutes of quiet quality time, sitting together every single day, doing nothing but being present. Offer your African Grey Parrot daily head scratches with gentle finger movements behind the crest and down the nape. This physical bonding behavior triggers the release of oxytocin in both the bird and the owner, deepening the emotional connection profoundly. Eye contact is an incredibly powerful bonding tool with your African Grey Parrot. Make deliberate, soft-eyed eye contact multiple times throughout the day while speaking gently, because your bird reads your eyes far more than you realize. African Grey Parrots that have a deeply secure emotional bond with their owner are documented to vocalize between 3 and 5 times more frequently than insecure birds, because they feel safe enough to experiment with sound. The single most powerful predictor of how quickly your African Grey Parrot will start talking is the consistency of your training schedule. A bird trained for 10 minutes twice daily every day will outperform a bird trained for 3 hours once a week by a wide margin. Schedule your first training session in the morning, approximately 60 to 90 minutes after your African Grey Parrot has eaten breakfast. A fed, alert, and fully awake bird is in its peak cognitive learning state and will absorb language most efficiently. Schedule your second training session in the early evening before the wind-down period. African Grey Parrots are naturally most vocal and most communicative in the late afternoon and early evening, which is when language learning accelerates most powerfully. Keep every single training session to a strict maximum of 10 to 12 minutes. African Grey Parrots have intense but short learning windows, and sessions that exceed this length produce frustration, disengagement, and regression rather than progress.